Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Lost Through the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Josh Myota, and tonight's special guest is Elsa Dillon. She has a large variety of paranormal and extraterrestrial experiences. That being said, please give it away for Elsa.
Well, hi, Josh. Hi, audience. We're a family of 8 children with my husband and myself. And the last 25 years with Richard, we've been having experiences, happenings all the time. And as I've mentioned with Josh, is that it all crosses over. Everything crosses, interlinks together, from astrology to feng shui to mythology to biblical to military to ET beings, crafts, reincarnations, oversouls. It all interlinks. And we've been living it. We're living proof that it has been happening for us. Since Christmas last year, we decided to come out and share the information because we felt that possibly the ET UFO experiences might be used for manipulation. And so we had strong urges to step forward and share the information. The other reason that we stepped forward is that we believe that every illness or disease that you have in your body is talking to you, is telling you that you're not doing something in your lifestyle. And in my mouth was regressing. All my teeth were starting to look like they were going to fall out of my head. I started looking like a skeleton. So my husband was like, you can't keep walking around like this. You look really scary. You look like you're dying in your mouth. And he said, I know you're not going to go to the dentist, so you got to really do something about this. So I went deep and did research on what regress of the mouth physically means. And it means to speak up. So we would test it. So I started speaking up and sharing our story with others around the world. And as I started sharing the story with others around my world, my teeth started healing and my gums started growing back. So the more I'd speak out, the more my gums would grow back. So I guess you could say it was more a cosmetic reasons that we started coming out, because if I stopped sharing our experiences, then they would regress again. I go, okay, I get it. I'll keep sharing. So as we kept sharing, we realized that we were helping people along the way, with people that we were communicating with, not just here in Australia where we live, but overseas. So we would continue sharing, and everything was expanding, and the kids were having experiences and happenings. We'd share that, and then that would assist other people with their children as well. We would share our health things. We would share our ghost paranormal experiences. So by sharing information with people, it seems to just keep, it's like it's contagious. It just keeps growing and growing and growing with others, and you lift others' frequencies, maybe only for a few moments, but they get a taste of it and they like it. Most people like it, and then they'll go away and reassess their life and maybe get irritated or get annoyed or have a huge shift, and then they come back again, and you can see them. You can see shifts happening in people, and it's exciting to see, because you see people smile. It's nice seeing people smile and smile with themselves, you know.
Absolutely. It's awesome to raise your vibrations alongside somebody else.
Yeah. And we aren't aren't spiritual people, but we do. We sound like hippies, but we're not like that. But I guess we are. We like the natural approach. We've had home births, we've had natural births. We've attempted to bring our kids up as clean as possible with their foods and with barely any Western medical interference at all. Like, a lot of our kids have never been to a hospital, so ever. Yeah, we don't see doctors. We address everything ourselves. We believe that we heal within ourselves. So it's empowering as well, because you can do it. Last year was a big year for me, because I was going through so many frequency shifts. And I was explaining to Josh before, you go through all these frequency shifts and people say to you, oh, so are you at a level now? And I'm like, no, because then you got to open another whole cupboard and then you got to rearrange all those cans. Well, last year that happened to me. We have horses on our farm where we live, and I misread one of our yearlings, and I got in the way of my horse. My horse moved out the way that I was holding, and the yearling's two hind legs went up in the air, and I saw them coming at my back, and then they cracked my spine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they chipped bones in my spine. So my back's basically broken, and I'm on the ground now, and now I can't breathe. And I had one last breath to call for the kids, and then that was it. I couldn't move for probably 3 months. For the first few weeks, I could only move my eyeballs. I couldn't cry. It was pretty severe. But they knew that I wouldn't go in an ambulance. They knew that I wouldn't go to hospital. And for the first 24 hours, I'm going to share this story because this is amazing. The first 24 hours of pain, I could feel electric shocks shooting through my body. That was just excruciating pain, but I couldn't even cry or scream. I couldn't move because I was paralyzed. I'm lying in the lounge room, and the kids, I'm sweating, and anytime I could speak, it was a scream. And that went on for 24 hours from the kick. And then this is so Richard. My husband comes in and says, all right, you've had 24 hours of full-on pain. You know what pain is. You've been through pain before. You understand what pain is. Are you going to put all the stuff that we've been learning for the last decades into practice? And the pain switched off instantly.
Wow.
As soon as the pain switched off, I had a being come through, like Peruvian type warrior type being, like a Mayan being come through. And I got messages, and the pain had gone. I could still feel the pain spots in my body, and I could still feel the electric pulses going through, but I realized how powerful I am. And it's not just me, it's everyone. Everyone has this power. I'm not this special person. Everyone has this inside. So then we went through the healing process, so eating and healing, and then gradually rehabilitation. I went and did acupuncture, and he couldn't even put the needle in because I was so swollen. And he said to me, you really need to go and have an operation. And then I said to him, so if I go and have an operation, you're going to go and cut my tendons? Yes. I'm going to go and have tendons? Yes. So all these things, EMF scans, cutting tendons, so that's extra healing, correct? And he said, yes. And I said, if I don't do any of this, what will happen to my bones? And I said, he said, well, over time they should dissolve. And I went, so I can do this? And he looked at me and went, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to say yes. And I said, yeah, I can do this. And we saw him months later, and he's impressed that I'm walking even again. So it took 3 months, and I could start to move my feet again. I can still feel the bone moving around in my back. It's still, I can move it with my fingers. But every step I take now, like, I'm seriously, thank you, take another step, thank you.
Wow.
It made me, what it did bring to my attention, which was really interesting, because this will relate to something that we spoke about earlier, Josh, is that it made me understand what all the people in hospitals and retirements were going through in lockdown. The difference is that I was with my family. I could smell my family home. I could see my family belongings. I could see their eyes. These people in the lockdowns, they had none of that. They were in rooms with lights, fluorescent lights, no natural light, air conditioning, and no family members. So the compassion was really a big thing, lesson through that back crack thing. But it's amazing that that being that came through, that I once I could move my hand, which was probably a week later, I could move my hand. I drew the being, and then our 16-year-old daughter, number 3 child, she drew the same being. So she's channeling the same being. So I'm having a physical pain. I'm having connections with people in homes, and then we're having a being come through with a channeling as well. Not just me, but another family member. It interlinks, keeps crossing over. Yeah. It's a cool story, right?
That is an awesome story.
Yeah.
Well, glad to hear that you're doing better too with your back.
Yeah. Well, I'm riding a horse again, and when we shifted to our new home, I laid, I think, 92 pavers that are 17 kilos each. Like, it gives people, I guess, telling people and sharing your experiences and these happenings with others, is it gives them not only hope, but they go, oh, I've had something similar happen like that. And then they can connect it to something in their life, and they go, oh yeah, I have had something happen similar to that time and that time and that time. And then they start to realize that they've been doing it as well.
So, Elsa, do you believe if you weren't spiritually strong or had higher vibrations, do you still think you'd be in physical therapy today? If you went and did get the operations?
Yeah, I would.
I think you would be too.
I don't think I'd be walking. I really don't think I'd be walking. Not at all. So then the question comes, did the beings help me? And I'm going to say they did. I had, this is controversial for many. We had a being that came through that was a reptilian type. Now, reptilian hasn't presented to us in the same form that reptilian has presented to many other people. The reptilian being that came through for us, the first thing they showed us was not to have us in fear. And what they did is gave us a frequency chart so that we could test how much reptilian was in each family member. And then they showed us how much reptilian was in them. And they did this as a process to make us understand that I think 2 of our kids had more reptilian than this reptilian being, but they wanted to come through to show us that we were in a safe place with this being first. And I was just like, wow. So this is a very compassionate type being that's presenting information to us. After that, this being who presented came through with the name Hos, which is Heus, and it was a door. That was what they kept showing us, a door, and the door was a healing process. We, not being on the internet, for many years, I didn't understand about med beds, but basically what he offered was a technology of a med bed type. And that was one of the things that healed my back. He would show me this device which you connect with and you put in your body and you move it around your body. It moves around like a pool cleaner. It goes to each atom or DNA or cell in your body, and it moves around, and this device then it pauses at, stops at swollen or damaged areas, and it hovers there and goes around like a sphere and cleans it. Now, some of the cells, they have said times they can't clean, and it's not part of that soul's agreement that they have that damaged cell, which will be part of their plan through their life. But a lot of the cells in my body, they were healing all the way through. And I just was like, wow, this is amazing.
It is amazing.
I guess also seeing yourself heal in such a short space of time as well is pretty impressive. Like, most people couldn't believe that I was walking. Usually getting hit with one hoof is pretty severe, but I had two
Wow.
two full rear hits. So it's like full force, you know. I'm shocked that I'm even alive, really.
Honestly, yes. I do know people who have passed from horse accidents. It's actually pretty common. They're big, they're powerful animals. It's amazing that you got hit twice and you're walking today and riding. And
yeah. But it's, again, you know, like that's a bad story, or is it a good story? And we say it's a good story. And
I'd definitely say it's a good story.
Yeah, but when you're in it, it's not a good story.
I didn't have to live it, though.
But we all have, you know, those moments, and it's those moments where you have to go, okay, where's my frequency at? And that's where, you know, it's beautiful how Richard just walks in and goes, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do you want to stay there or there? And it was like a Lucy moment where she said she can turn pain off, because pain is definitely a program. And it's one that you do have pain in your body, but when your body gets to a certain point of pain or shock, your body actually turns off in that state. Women have it when they go into labor. You have it when you're also in shock. Your body shuts down areas, and you'll hear a lot of people who have terminal illnesses or diseases, and you'll see the family members all crying, and they're saying, oh, look, that person's suffering, but they actually don't feel that pain because they've been turned off. Their body goes, okay, you can handle this much pain, and then that's it. And then it turns off. The rest is actually in the mind. And if you can turn the mind off or adjust it or just sidestep it a little bit, the healing process then is a lot faster. But if you stay in the mind program, it's like you fall in love with the illness, or you fall in love with the disease. And it sounds harsh saying it, and it sounds like I'm not speaking with compassion, but I really am speaking with words so that it assists others, not makes them feel inadequate in any way, because they can do it. It's just
mind over matter.
Yeah. So the way our family started connecting with ETs and beings was I had a recollection of a reincarnation with my Egyptian connection. My father's Egyptian, And my father, when I was younger, told me that the pyramids weren't built by Egyptians, they were built by the stars. And it was just common knowledge. And he used to just play in the pyramids as a kid. You know, he would just run around.
Wow.
That's how he was with a kid. And it was just like common knowledge. We didn't talk about ETs or anything as a child, but it was just, that was, how could you be the only planet alive? You know, there's more out there. Anyway, we had this connection, reincarnation connection. And then I started realizing that our family was repeating another realm, which was really weird, because I didn't know anyone or heard of anyone that was doing anything like that. And I didn't know who to talk to. So I had to really work out what was going on. At first, obviously, you think you're crazy and schizophrenic and you go through all that stuff. But then you start going, okay, well, yeah, it's not, it's too many things are happening. So what was happening for us is that we have our family here, and then our family in another realm in exactly the same order, in exactly the same female, male, and they're repeating. And it kept happening over and over and over again. And Richard said, well, that's great that that's happening. And I understand that you're telling the family, but how can you prove this? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know how you prove something from the past or history to now. How do you prove it? Anyway, we got messages that there is no time. Time is a program as well. And that there is no such thing as history. And there is alive and parallel, running parallel to us. They're parallel realms. And I was like, okay, so my brain doesn't understand that. So that took a long time to understand. And then Richard said, okay, so now you keep going through all this. How do you prove it? And so I would go in a regress. I learned how to do regress through YouTube. And so I do my own regress. And as I'd go through a regress, within 12 to 24 hours, it would change in the news. History would change. And I kept showing the kids, I'd say, this is what happened in the regress, and then would happen in history, something would change. And it just kept happening. Wow. And it happened so many times that the kids started going, okay, you're not crazy. You're okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. But then the other thing that was tricky was that that family in the other realm didn't have such a great outcome. So it put a lot of fear and stress on myself, because I thought, well, if now we're repeating that realm, or they're repeating us, or however it works, does that mean we are going to have the same outcome? And they keep saying to me, history is not what you think. It's not what you think. And so things would keep changing. And I would say to the kids and the family, how can history change? History is history, right? So how can history change? How can you have that and then it changes in history? So then that history doesn't become, so that means all history can change. If that can change and that can change and that can change, then all history changes. So then it starts to fragment. It's like the 3D realm really does fragment. It doesn't
almost like a watercolor. That's the way I always picture it, kind of how it just all swirls together in the end.
Yeah. Well, the fragment, people say, like, through the looking glass, or many of the childhood nursery rhymes or stories, they would have two realms that they would go to, Alice in Wonderland or even Matrix, they go to two different realms, right? And one starts falling apart, and then you have this other one, and that's what happens to us all the time. And so with this repeating of the realm, I kept saying, so our family understand it, our family believe it's going on, and then the crafts start, the ETs start, the ghosts start, not just for me, for the whole family. And it was like they've introduced us to so many different species, so many different beings, so many different, from the Feywild to mountain ones to giant ones, dragons, and then we have the 3D experiences with the whales, the horses, the cows, the bulls, the lizards, the snakes. So we're having experiences with animals, with trees, with crystals, with rocks, with the land, with the water. So now it's just like crossing over every single thing that we encounter. So it's pretty amazing. And to talk about it, you have to go, okay, well, which topic, which one do you want to pull out and hear a story about? Because we have stories on
everything,
so
it sounds like. Why don't we talk briefly? You said you have encounters with the Fae. Could you talk briefly about it with me?
So with the Fae, we've had so we have names, labels that we've known through history or information on TV. So use those names. So the ones we've had come through are goblins. So goblins come through and they're tricksters. And the tricksters we have learnt through history have been given a bad name. But the way we understand goblins come through is they teach you to watch your words, especially the default words. I'll give you an example. So, isn't that nice? So you've just cancelled it. You've said, isn't that nice? One that they say in Australia is, yeah, nah. When they're talking, they'll go, oh, yeah, nah, like that. So they've just cancelled it out. But because you're on default, you're not watching the words that you're casting or spelling, you are creating a cancelling out of what you're talking about. And goblins would present, and to us, they would present, and we would have to watch our words. So you might be saying, oh, wow, that's really killing it. And you go, hang on, what did I just say? Because you've just killed something, right, with words. So you have to, so they ask you then to slow your speech down. So by slowing your speech down, you're becoming conscious now. You're connecting with your breath of the words and the frequency that you're putting out to become more conscious. So that's how goblins have presented for our family. So saying that,
sorry. So when working with goblins, they always seem to use. So it's always with word magic with them, with you guys, which is what you're saying. That's really interesting. I've never heard that before with goblins.
Well, they're tricksters too. They will move things around. Things will go missing a lot in your home. So if you have that type of thing happening, it could be the goblins trying to get your attention. They'll get you. They just get your attention if you're alert to it. Again, all these beings we've found aren't able to interfere with your frequency unless you're alert to it or you're needing a little flick to wake up. They'll come in. So with the goblins, we were saying, not just me, but Richard, the kids, they would say certain things. So they just made us address what we were saying. And we actually then went and the kids would give them a thank you. So the kids would ask them what they would like and they give them a gift. Now this goes back to then traditions where you would, I think it's the American Indian, where they would have fair trade. So they would give you a feather and you would give them a pipe, or so you exchange. And by doing that with the universe or the ground or the cosmos or Gaia or whatever you want to call it, by doing that, thank you, is that you've actually acknowledged it. So now it's almost like a biblical thing. You've given and you've received. So now you're ready for the next thing. You've given, you've received. So then we'd have different dragon beings present, or fairies. Fairies are good. Fairies are interesting because fairies are easy for people to digest. Fairies are light, and fairies have a light energy to most people. And the fairies are easy for the human frequency where they're at now to accept, as orbs are easy to accept. But those orbs and those fairies can then expand or shapeshift into other beings. They just present first as that for you. So so when we're talking about the reincarnation and me regressing, I would regress back to the other realm in Egypt. First, I would present to her as an orb or a ghost. Then she had to awaken as well, not just in my realm. She had to awaken as well. Once she had awakened, and once we both started realizing what was going on in both realms, then we both had to present it to the families and the kids and the husbands in both realms. I've never thought of myself as an orb or a ghost before, but in that other realm, that's how I presented. So that opens up everything bigger for me. Again, a lot of this stuff we do because we don't really follow anyone or anything. It's just purely from what we do. It comes from us, so we don't have any narratives on it or labels or boundaries on it. We definitely don't have boundaries on it anymore. And if we do feel a boundary, then that's something that obviously we need to, open the cupboard again and clean up.
Yes, another layer.
With doing everything that we're talking about, it takes so much longer to talk about it than actually do it. When you're doing it, it's really quick, and then you're doing the dishes or getting in the car ready to go somewhere, or you're doing the gardening. It's in the day-to-day. It's not only in meditation and I think that's the other thing that we're out, why we're sharing it. It is people, I find when I hear them, they're only doing it when they're in a crystal grid or in some spiritual moment. To us, every moment is a moment, is a step, is part of the setup, is part of, there's no synchronicity, there's no randoms, everything's crossing your path at that moment for that reason. And it's connected to the stars, it's connected to the earth, it's connected to the phase, it's connected to the animal kingdom. And the more that everyone is aware of it, the more I do it. So then it comes back to my childhood film Star Wars, where they're saying, feel the force, Luke, feel the force. So they weren't kidding.
Absolutely.
Because it's all around us.
We're all connected.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that is interesting is that a lot of one of the common question is, are you in fear of beings? Or if a being showed up for me, I'd be scared. Well, they're not going to show up for you then, because you've just turned them off. Goblin term, I'm scared. They're not allowed to interfere. So they'll present in a different way. So they might present in glasses breaking, or lights flickering, or the TV coming on and off, or shorts in your computer or your phone. I think we went for 2 years where my Apple phone would not hold the same time as everybody else's Apple phone. And I don't know how it would do it. We thought it was broken. And then we lost that phone, and we got another phone, the same phone again. So
same thing again. That's so strange.
Yeah, because what's going on there. So the more you read the signs, so you become like an oracle, and you watch things that are happening in front of you each moment, and realize that the universe is actually, happening for you. It really does expand, and that's what expansion is. And we can take it more the ET way. We can take it more the past life way. We can. It's all interlinked somehow.
Absolutely.
And we're all, like your program and others that are connecting with this, is our job is to soul seed coming in, the souls coming into Earth now. It's very challenging for them. This not only from the foods that they have to eat, to they've got to breathe, to the medical system. So how they're coming in, they need extra support. And we're all here to share and ignite others so that we can support a new seed coming through. The seed to me is a child coming through. When you start to realize that you are this amazing movie going on, you're an amazing being going on in your own body and your own self. You have this amazing orbit around you, and your orbit, and so you have Elsa's orbit and Josh's orbit coming together, and we're spinning different frequencies and doing this, and then this message will be recorded and then goes out to other people, and then they get that same buzz. So now you all start doing this. It's
webbing together. It's amazing stuff. And then somebody thinks, well, I had something similar happen, and I had something similar happen, and then it's all just sharing the information.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Well, that's one. Well, when I was in the craft, that I was I had a craft experience in 2017 where they told me that I was gone for 10 years. So in this 10 years that I was gone in the craft, it was only 20 minutes human time, but 10 minutes their time. Well, that's right. 10 years human time, but in this 3D world, I was only gone for 20 minutes. So I don't understand how that works, but that's what I got told. In that time frame, they were showing me that they showed me how the alignment that we have had that's already happened was a near miss. That's what they called it, a near miss. And they showed me how finally we came to having an ending. But they didn't show me an ending. They showed me a void, a clean slate. And it's like now we're in this clean slate stage, and everything's like flipped over, and it's like it's waiting for this type of information that we're sharing with others, and possibilities that the seed can do will ignite the next stage. And the seed that he is here now is they're ready for it, because that's their soul agreement. They're ready for it. and it's pretty exciting. The one thing with I think it's the Alice program through the Looking Glass or the remote view, they got stuck at one spot, and that spot that they got stuck at was a near miss that I got up. That was the same near miss, so that was the spot, and they can't seem to remote view past that point. And the reason they can't remote view past that point is they cannot read how fast humans can change their frequencies, because humans can change their frequencies like that, and that's one thing they can't. Beings can't seem to predict how fast they can change, and I think that's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Some of the paranormal experiences you've had, I'm sure, changed you like that too, as well, because you would have
honestly,
been thinking that way.
Every time you experience something of the unknown, I feel like it drastically changes who you are. It changes your core beliefs. It makes you filled with more wonder.
So it's a shift, right?
It's definitely a shift. I would agree with you on that.
And that frequency change, it might be minuscule in your day to day, but it's actually huge. It's like how when we used to build homes, if it was 1 millimeter out here at this end of the house, at that end of the house it was out like by a meter or something.
Right.
And that's how I see it. It's that little, and some people are only here to have little shifts. Some soul agreements have decided to come here a lot of times. Like it's interesting when you do your own inner research and realize how many times you've been here in this way, how many times you've come here, and sometimes you're meant to come here lots and lots and lots of times. And then we meet people that have only come here once, so they're like, we call them the newbies. They come here raw. So the kids over the years have they connect with our oversoul. So our kids know which oversoul is the oldest, even though the beings laugh at us because they don't do it by age, but they've got an idea of roughly who's the oldest one in the family, and it doesn't go by age in our family, so it's quite funny. So
that's awesome.
We have so Jerry is our number 6 baby, but she's like the second oldest in the family. So everyone's like, when we go shopping, she gets the final say because she's the oldest.
That's too cool.
Yeah. So even though it sounds all out there, this stuff that we're talking about, we sort of bring it into our day-to-day, what we're doing through the day. Who gets to buy what they want to buy at the shops or do what they want to do, who gets to go surfing.
It's too cool.
Yeah. But what is nice is we've had a few people that have had the alphabet diseases that they've got from their kids. So they've got ADD or there's so many of them, and they say, my child has a problem or a disease, and we've found that those children, that is the way around the programming, because when they have those diseases, they seem to not affiliate with the programs. They can't. And it's sort of like the seed's way of sidestepping all the programs. So we encourage parents who have these children to, instead of looking at those children as having difficulties, actually look at them as having a gift. And we've had a few parents who have treated the children as a gift, and not only has it enhanced the child's now channeling beings, or they're going to sacred locations, or they're healing others, and the parent and the child have a better relationship as well.
That's
And
amazing.
I think that's really, yeah, it is amazing, because now it's not a problem. Now it's an advantage. And it's because those children don't care about what 3D is telling them. They just go, they actually have like a block against them like that, and they're not listening to anything that is happening in the 3D programming. And that's pretty hard. I mean, I know how many programs I've had to release. I'm still doing it. The other big one that we've had through this week or last week was the human race is running out of time. And I went, wow, that doesn't sound so good when I say it. The human race is running out of time. And they said, it's not what you think. So they've asked me to work out what that means. And the human race is running out of time because time is a program, and time actually ties me to time. So it ties me to time. That's what time is. So it's a program. And the human race, well, there is no human race. The only human race is the seed, the sperm going to the egg. That's the race. And if you Google it, it looks like a race with all the sperm racing to the egg. So when you see those pictures of the sperm racing to the egg, it's like you are the chosen one. You literally are the chosen one to get there, because there's thousands, right? So that's the human race. And you look up the word, that always take me back to the original language, the Pi root word. And the Pi root word of sperm is germ, gene, germ, sperm, Gina, and GENEA is a race. That's the terminology. So when I heard this message at first, I went, oh, that has a negative feel to it. And then I went, no, it doesn't. It actually has a good vibe to it. So now I understand the message from a week ago being the human race is running out of time, because it's running out of that program. That program is tired. It's over. There is no human race except for the race to the egg, and the time program is over. And it helps you to digest prophecies where you hear the apocalypse is happening or the world is ending as we know it. Well, it is
There's
ending as we know it. It's a lot, right? But it can get you depressed. So then you look at it with another spin, or the yin and the yang, or the contrast of it, and then you realize it's not what you think. So it changes the frequency of it. So instead of it having that frequency, now it has this frequency, and you go, oh, that's a good thing. I like that.
That is. I like the way that is.
The biggest thing we have realized, though, is that there's always two sides. You know, when we meet people, they say, oh, well, how can you prove what you're doing, or how can you prove that? And you say, well, I'm smiling and you're not, so I'm going to go with that.
Right.
And how can you prove these beings? How can you prove that? Well, we actually don't. In us, we don't feel that we need to prove it, because we're already living it. And there's plenty of proof out there. I mean, our kids just taking pictures of orbs and fairies, and are you going to discredit everything and find a technical problem with everything, or are you going to actually see things for how they feel? And
the way I look at it too is, if somebody's closed off and doesn't want to learn, they're not going to learn. It's like a horse. You take a horse to a creek. If it doesn't want to drink, it's not going to drink.
Yeah. Well, their frequency is here, and your frequency is over here, and so doesn't matter what you say. Yeah, it's just they're not going to tune into it, and it doesn't actually mean that they're wrong. That's just their journey, and you'll find that they can't be around you very long, or their time with you will be very quick, we find. And what's interesting with those frequencies is always around Mercury retrogrades, we find we get tested, where they pass, we've crossed and haven't heard for years or decades. They'll come back into our life just random, always around a Mercury retrograde. It's the most peculiar thing. Where we had one. Richard used to be Australian motocross champion before he was a photographer, and he had a huge accident. It was huge, and he was in a coma for a week or so. And just this last 6 months through Facebook, the man who was 2 motorbikes behind him contacted him, and he hasn't spoken to him since prior to the race. And Richard asked him about the motorbike incident, what happened, and he said, "You shouldn't be alive. You shouldn't be alive."
Wow.
Because you know what they're like when they come over the jumps and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, they're crazy. Yeah. I mean, Richard's whole jaw to be reconstructed. I think the motorbike handle went through his face and his helmet, and then he had all the motorbikes landing on him because he was first. Because when he would race, he would not only would he sometimes lap, but he would lap the thing twice. So he'd be 2 laps in front of them. That's how fast he was. And yeah, it was. I mean, in a Mercury retrograde, you haven't heard from someone for 20 or 30 years, and then they contact you. Why have they contacted you again? Because they remembered your frequency, and they've come back because they need to. They're looking for the light. They're looking for. I think deep down, everyone's looking for a good frequency. So you'll say, why is that person showed up again? Why is that person showed up again? It's because how you're vibrating, they show up again. Because sometimes
that actually makes so much sense.
Yeah. Wow. Like, have you had something happen similar now? Because
there's a lot of times where I have friends from the past just randomly hit me up too, and they're like, "Hey, man, it's been like 15 years." Especially this year, I have a bunch of people from my past just randomly like, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah.
Wow. So, you've had huge shifts this year, especially around the shift phase that we've had in August. You've had a huge shift, so you'll probably even notice it more and more in the next coming weeks. You'll feel that happening. People will buzz into your frequency, but they don't know why they're doing it. They don't. I mean, you'll know because you've had this conversation and stuff, but they won't know why they're tapping into you, and they can just. It's like they can feel the goodness in you, and they're tapping into it because they're searching for something in themselves. So they're trying to clean almost up like their act, or
almost like a moth with a light.
Yeah.
Like the dust. Yeah. Makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's and again, it's contagious. It is inspiring to see others find that light in themselves. So not through other people, not through gurus, but finding it within them it's exciting to watch.
Yes.
But like animals and stuff, they do this all the time. They don't do what we do. They're doing it all the time. Animals don't. Animals are sitting on a branch and then they fly over there, and then they fly because they feel it. They feel to fly from that branch to that branch. They don't get an email or a memo. They don't have 9 to 5. They look at the sun, they feel what they got to do, and then they go and do it. And that's where we've got to get back into doing.
We're definitely really lacking.
Yeah.
As a whole, as humanity.
Yeah. But by us having this conversation and then others seeing that, then that will inspire other people. Like you said, they'll go, oh, that happened to me. Oh, that happened to me. That happened to me. And then the light happens, and the light happens, and then they might have an orb show up or a ghost show up.
Or an ET experience.
Yeah, so they'll have a little bit, and they'll give you a little taste, and then you'll freak out. And then I go, okay, I'll fall back. And then they'll wait for you to open up again. They keep testing. And there are the ones, I do agree, there are ones that have had them where they've just forced in on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to have to say it keeps coming back to a frequency thing. They must be somehow bringing that in for it to be so dramatic. There's something in their field that does that. So, yeah. But if you, again, because we weren't on the internet for so long, we didn't have all the codes and the labels and the scary movies, because they're scary. And if you fill your head with all that and then you go and see some of this stuff, it would be really scary. It would literally blow your mind.
Yes. I mean, there's so much propaganda with TV and internet too. I mean, it's probably best that you didn't. I wish I was shut off sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the biggest spiritual things you can do is what you eat. But what you eat isn't just what you eat, it's what you, because they call it feed, right? What you're feeding, you're getting a feed. So when you turn off the internet or the TV, you stop getting a feed. So then you become more like an animal. So now, instead of getting a feed, you actually have to go out and feed yourself. So you can't just sit there and the information comes. You've got to look over there, you've got to look over there, you've got to look down there, you've got to look up there. So now you have to feed yourself. So then you start becoming more alert and open. And it's interesting watching someone come off a computer or come off a device, because usually we give them we call it the tanny phase, where they have a tantrum. And usually what the tantrum is the body coming back, or the soul coming back into itself, and they have a tantrum. So they get hungry, they got to go to the bathroom, they're really thirsty, they yell at everyone, why isn't this done? And then after about 20 minutes to an hour, then they actually start coming back into being, like the bird going from the branch, flying over there, you come back into being the soul you again.
Elsa has a lot of experiences to share with us still. I would love for you to be back on a further episode, if that's all right.
Yeah, that would be great.
And if any of you have similar experiences or experiences you'd like to share, please email me at lostthroughtherabbithole@gmail.com. Thank everybody for watching. It's been fun. It was awesome meeting you, and looking forward to the next episode with you, Elsa.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.